things happen that are terrible.
Yeah.
Yes, that hurt. I am sorry that happened. But that does not have to shape your tomorrow. It does not have to become who you are. It's an event that happened.
Yeah.
And that's the big piece of helping people tease out. That happened.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
Yeah.
But unless you allow it to shape your tomorrow, it does not have to. Because also we have to realize things happen in a moment in time, but that moment is over. So what you're reliving is in your mind. And then you subsequently relive the emotion attached to that event that happened.
Yeah.
But the event itself is over.
Yeah.
You're only reliving what you choose to relive about that moment.
Welcome to the Loving God, Loving People podcast, where we talk about what it looks like to follow Jesus in our everyday lives and how, in the end, all that matters is God and people. Here's today's episode.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm sitting here with Dr. Dayna Harris. Dayna, thank you so much for being with us on the podcast, giving your time, and really appreciate you being here. So you are a doctor.
I am.
Explain to us what kind of doctor you are.
I am a child psychologist. Fun times.
Yeah, and you work with what age children primarily?
Primarily 5 to about 12-ish or so.
Okay. So
Not
elementary
a real fan
school.
of the biggers.
Yep,
I like the littles.
Yeah, the mess to untangle the older that they get.
Yes.
It's a little more tangled. So if you can work with them when they're younger, I love so working with Next Gen for years.
Yeah.
I love working with kids and working with students. One, they're sponges.
Absolutely.
And two, all the problems we have as adults are kid problems that we
Back
didn't
there.
deal with. And if we could just deal with it here, yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about you. So you have a military background.
I do.
So what's your military background?
I am a veteran of the Air Force. So
Excellent. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. That was sort of a random, like, oh my gosh, I should do something else with my life. In my 20s, I kind of bounced around a lot.
So one day you're just like, I'm going to join the Air Force.
Yes and no. Well,
Okay.
my grandfather was a veteran of the Navy. My uncle is a veteran of the Marines. So it's sort of in our family.
Yeah.
But I was the first woman
Okay.
in our family to be a veteran. So that was pretty cool.
And at what point did you go, I'm going to go the psychology route?
Yeah. So when I got out the military, I worked for an airline for a while because I was a flight attendant for a while. I worked in HR and things like that. I worked on the collegiate level for about 10 years.
Okay.
And working with a returning adult population, I was wondering why so many of them struggled in college. And then it dawned on me. It's because when they were children, something happened back there.
Yeah.
So then I went back to school, and that's when I became a child psychologist because, like you just said, my thought pattern, if I can get it little,
Yeah.
then it helps the end process,
Yes.
right? It helps them to grow to be better adults who can deal with situations rather than adults who bury situations and think they're going to go away. Because as a child, they didn't learn the mechanisms to deal with obstacles and things.
So when you sit down with a kid and you're getting to know them and know their story, what are you listening for? And what is it that you're kind of looking to diagnose as you start having conversations?
Yeah.
Talk us through kind of your process.
One, I call it going in girl mode. So
Okay.
I have to let the little tell me the story because somewhere in the story is what's happening, right? And really what you're listening for is the emotion because the emotion is going to drive the behavior.
Okay.
So that's really what you're dealing with because children don't really have a way to express themselves with the words that adults in theory, should have,
Yep.
right? And so as a child, they're trying to tell you, but it's coming out in their behaviors.
Yeah.
So when you talk to them and you just let them ramble, you'll hear it. And then you'll begin to hear, well, I was afraid because X, or I was wearing these pink shoes yesterday, but that was because I was afraid to Y. So then you actually get to the basis of what the kiddo's trying to tell you.
Okay.
That's typically with my girls. But with the boys, I usually do something active. You know, we're playing a game. I usually let them teach me a game, so that they're involved.
This doesn't change as guys get older, by the way. So if I want to have like a serious conversation with some guy, I'm not going to just sit down and have a conversation. We're going to go play golf or we're going to go
pool
We're going to be doing something. Or guys, the other easiest thing is we're going to have a fire.
Yeah.
Because guys can just stare at a fire, and for whatever reason, now we'll talk about
all
anything.
comes out.
Yes. and we'll just stare at just eyeball to eyeball doesn't work as well with guys, even when they're older. So
That's good to know.
Yeah. So you're looking for the emotion.
Yeah.
And I've heard it said this way, and Chad's not here, so I'm going to rhyme on his behalf. But I've heard it said that our emotions reveal our devotions.
Yes.
That the things that we get excited about or feel fearful of, it's revealing something that's really, really important to us.
Absolutely.
And so we can make those connections. So
Absolutely.
if there's something that stirs up emotion, any emotion or, okay. So,
it's really any emotion.
Yeah.
Really, what people have a misnomer about is that fear is really a false emotion, right? It's really not real. But people don't know that because in their minds, they create whatever that situation is, and it's real to them. Or anger. Anger is really a secondary emotion. Really, you're afraid of something, but you don't want people to know you're afraid. So you say, I'm mad, I'm angry, or that is the behavior that you manifest. But really, at its core, it's fear. And so it's hard to get adults to talk about that. So my mindset is, okay, if I can teach a little to be able to express verbally, I feel like this because then as an adult, the child will do the same thing and not have what I like to call the 27-minute decision. So now I'm so angry that I lash out. I'm so angry that I commit a crime or whatever that is, and you can't get that back.
Yeah.
That one moment can cost you 18 years of your life. So teaching them when they're little, I cannot have a tantrum right now, but I'm going to explain how I feel. That's my end goal, right? Okay. Teach the little not to have a tantrum, because a tantrum is nothing more than an expression of something I want, but I'm not getting. So I'm going to have a tantrum in the store, or I'm going to, throw my shoes or whatever.
So you now, you're talking to this little, and you go, okay, the pink shoes.
Right.
And you're pulling on the thread, and you get to whatever that emotion is, and you're getting to what is the fear, what is the driver, what is the now what do you do?
Okay.
And
then you have to help them reframe what they're seeing.
Okay.
So like in this series, right, Mind Wars, I love it because this is where I live.
Yeah.
Because everything is driven by a thought.
Yeah.
Nothing starts without a thought, right? And so once I figure out, I'm afraid because I think my mommy's not going to let me ride a pony, whatever. Okay, why do you think that? Has your mom ever X'd or ever Y? Has your dad ever? So then you have to bring them back to the reality of what's happening versus the imagination of what I just conjured.
The possibilities
Exactly.
or the what ifs or the countless, we tend to live in all the future stuff that doesn't exist.
Ever.
Yep. And most of the things that we think about don't actually end up happening, that we worry about, that we stress out about. It's imaginary.
Exactly.
And so you're just helping them go back to, okay, what's reality? And let's focus on that instead of focusing on
all that out there.
Yeah.
And I teach children all the time that tomorrow technically does not exist and never really comes.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yep.
Because I'm going to say, tomorrow. Tomorrow. But the only thing that exists is the now. So this child is projecting something that from TV, from wherever, we don't know where, right? But the goal is to help the kiddo understand this is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I can't control 5 minutes from now, but right now you're safe. Right now that didn't happen. Right now, mommy packed goldfish in your lunch, so you're not going to run out of goldfish, or whatever.
Yep.
Mom always makes sure there's goldfish, right? Dad always makes sure you whatever. So you just have to bring them back to the moment. But it goes back to adults. It's the same thing. As adults, we go off the rails, right? Oh my gosh, this is going to happen. And then next thing you know, there's a fire. You went off the cliff. The car's exploded. Whoa, relax. It's like, bring it back.
No,
bring it back.
even as a parent, my kids sometimes they'll do something or they'll, okay, why weren't you honest with me on that? And in my mind, I'm like, my kid's gonna
go to prison.
They're gonna be in San Quentin one day. They just said they brushed their teeth, and they didn't actually brush their teeth. Like it's not as bad. But my mind, I'm like, oh, I see where this is headed. And it's hard not to let your mind go down that path.
Oh, for sure. But that's why we have to think about what we're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality, when you come back to the moment, your kids are great kids. They do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They're kids.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
We know this.
Yep.
Like our kids hang out all the time, right?
Yep.
They're kids. We know this. But at the end of the day, they're good kids.
They are.
They're not out doing half the things
Yep.
I think our kids are too afraid to do.
Yeah.
all these things. But because of all that we're bombarded with social media and, even parenting, you're like, whoa, like, what is that? It's so much going on that we, even as adults, have to not project that onto our kids. Right.
You said something a moment ago. I want to back up to it.
Yeah.
You said anger is a secondary emotion. Unpack that for us a little bit, because it could be that somebody's listening. They're like, I do get angry about this. What's the layers below that? How do you identify the why behind that? How do you get down to whatever that core thing is, that root that's just manifesting itself as anger as a secondary emotion? Unpack what that means and how we can utilize that to figure out, okay, what is it that I'm really dealing with?
For sure. You have to stop and think about it, really. Like, it just goes back to thinking about what you're thinking about. Why am I actually angry?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there were no apples in the fries? Is that really why I'm angry?
Yeah.
Like, I could just go across the street to Sprouts and get apples. So it's not the apples. It's not the fries. It's not the Sprouts. There's something. It's more than likely it's a fear of lack. It could be a fear of not enough. Maybe as a child, when you grew up, there wasn't enough resources in the house. So now as an adult, when you just like, I just wanted an apple, and you're so angry. It's not the apple.
Yeah.
But you have to go back to that moment and realize, what is this? And that just honestly takes a lot of soul searching and choice. But a lot of times it's easier to be angry and blame the fact that the store didn't have the apples.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about, right? So when you're unpacking it, you really have to decide to ask yourself, why am I actually angry? Are these shoes in the floor that important? Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because we have kids. Kids leave stuff around all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, really? Why am I this
Why
angry?
is that triggering this response?
That today, after 14 years, I am this upset because there's a shoe in the floor, So then you begin to unpack that, and more than likely it's because of some fear, some lack, something that happened as a child that over time you've suppressed. So you really haven't thought about it, but something triggered it. And now it's this big explosive thing, and everyone else is staring at Robert like, it's an apple. Like, I will go dude, I will buy you like a bag of apples.
Yes, we could fix this. We could solve
like,
this.
This is an easy fix, But really, it's not. It's something, more than likely, especially for us as adults, it's in childhood, and we just need to unpack whatever that trauma was.
Yeah.
Trauma is not necessarily this big event. When we hear trauma, we think, oh my gosh, something massive happened. But a trauma is whatever affects that individual. So a trauma to me may not be a trauma to you.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we have to identify that what's happening to me in this moment is real to me.
Yep.
And it is a traumatic event to me. But it's not traumatic in the event or in the viewpoint that it has to shape my day or shape my life. I need to stop for a minute and say, okay, what's really happening?
So I want to talk to parents for a moment on this one, because working with teenagers for years and years, and whether it's leaders, whether it's parents, adults that are in the lives of these teens, I would talk to them and they go, why are they making such a big deal? It's not a problem. Like, this is so minor, because they have perspective, right? The adults are looking at this teenager going, so your girlfriend broke up with you. You guys weren't going to get married anyway.
Right.
It was a terrible relationship anyway. You're fine. You're actually better for it. But for the teen, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Absolutely.
And in their world and their viewpoint. And so understanding that and being reminded that, when we were teens, it was the same thing. And so to be able to walk alongside and go, yeah, it's really tough.
Right.
And to be able to understand that in their world, that was very traumatic. Now, again, perspective, they're going to be just fine.
In 20 minutes.
That's right.
But in the reality, like right now it is. And I do think as parents and as we get older, that is something, because we do have a wider scope of life, right? We're like, dude, come on, you got a roof over your head. It is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
And everything is a perspective to that person. So the reality is that you want to help a person come back to the moment of what's actually happening. Things happen and they suck.
Yeah.
Right? Let's call it a duck. A duck is a duck. That was awful.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Let's not live in the land of unicorns.
Yeah.
I live there with kids, and
Don't
it's a fun
don't
place.
pretend a bad thing's a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun place in the land of unicorns, but in reality, things happen that are terrible.
Yeah.
Yes, that hurt. I am sorry that happened. But that does not have to shape your tomorrow. It does not have to become who you are. It's an event that happened.
Yeah.
And that's the big piece of helping people tease out. That happened.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
Yeah.
But unless you allow it to shape your tomorrow, it does not have to. Because also we have to realize things happen in a moment in time, but that moment is over. So what you're reliving is in your mind. And then you subsequently relive the emotion attached to that event that happened.
Yeah.
But the event itself is over.
Yeah.
You're only reliving what you choose to relive about that moment.
Okay. If you're watching or listening to the podcast, go back and listen to the last 30, 60 seconds, whatever that was. That is so powerful, and it's easy to hear that and go, yeah, okay, that is huge.
Oh, it's very huge.
Some people right now listening to this, they are stuck in a moment in time.
Jesus.
A year, 10 years, 40 years,
20.
Yep, and they're stuck in that time, and they're anchored by it.
They are. They've let it define them.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think for a moment back to the day you and Lindsay got married, fantastic day, right? We're all skipping through the lilies.
It actually was 111 degrees that day. It was an outdoor wedding. We broke the record for heat, but it was a beautiful day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
we'll
do
talk
remember
about
that part.
later.
Yeah. I'm not living in the past.
I'll have a chat with Lindsay about that. Why did we make that choice? But no, that moment
Yeah.
no longer exists. But what you relive every year on your anniversary
Yep.
is the beauty of that moment,
Yeah.
right? You have the good and some things you'd be like, oh, we really should have changed that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
why did we buy that cake? You know,
Yes.
or whatever, right?
Yes.
Because you're retrospecting, looking at it. But what happens a lot of times is that people live in the trauma of that moment and they keep reliving the moment.
Yeah.
So you keep reliving the emotion attached to the moment. My philosophy is, okay, Frank did something to me. And if your name is Frank, I apologize. That's just like my generic name.
Sorry, Frank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the Franks everywhere. But Frank did X, right? But Frank is now skipping through the lilies. Frank has moved on. Frank
Yes.
is living on a yacht in France, right?
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yes.
But you are so stuck on, he did this to me or she did this to me. And but
Why would
you've
you
not
give
allowed
yeah.
that person
Why would you
that
give
much
Frank?
power.
Yeah, don't give Frank the power. Don't give Frank that control in your life.
Absolutely
Frank
not.
doesn't deserve it.
And Frank doesn't care. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Yes.
Frank is like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's just it's a Tuesday for Frank, right? Yeah.
Pretty much, right? But you can relive and recount every single moment of it. Why? Why would you choose that when you can choose to let it go and then let in the love of Jesus to heal it?
Yeah.
Again, let's go back. It happened.
Yep.
It was awful, whatever that moment was. But there is nothing so awful that Jesus will not heal with his love.
Yeah.
But he can't if you keep reliving
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
awful moment. He's
Yep.
trying to get in.
Yep.
But he's like, okay, well, I
Here we
guess
go
I'll
again.
stand here
Yep.
until she, you know.
Yep.
But you don't have to. And so that's one of the big pieces in adulthood, I think, that a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah.
Is that people are like, well, when I was 6, I didn't get a pony. Dude, you are 42.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, go buy yourself a pony. I don't know. But let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I love about this, you're talking about, you're working with kids and all of that. This is so good and so powerful. And I love that you've gotten it to these really understandable pieces that as an adult we can take that and we can apply it in our lives. I was having a conversation with somebody, and this goes back to something you were saying a moment ago. I was on the patio after teaching a sermon, and I had said something that offended this person, and they were like yelling at me, like vein popping out of their neck, and I was like, man, maybe I really messed that up. And then somebody told me, they said, okay, if the level of offense does not equal the level of response, there's a lot more baggage that person is carrying around.
Absolutely.
And you were just getting that baggage dumped on you in that moment. And it had nothing to do with what you said.
No.
Yeah, that just triggered this person's still carrying all that baggage, and I just happened to say a word. And man, and so sometimes it's important because it gave me empathy, actually. It helped me not be so frustrated because I might want to just posture and kind of fight back on that to go, all right, if the level of offense doesn't match the level of response, this person's wounded and traumatized by something. And it made me, be a little more pastoral. Be a little more
That side came out.
Yeah, be a little more compassionate or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's justified behavior should be allowed, but it just helps us understand.
For sure.
And if we do that, if we get upset at the shoes, we get upset at the apple, we get upset at all those things that you mentioned, maybe there's some trauma that we've not dealt with and we've not given to Jesus. So
for sure,
if I identify and go, all right, why did I get so angry about that? And I can unravel it. I can get to the root of it and go, here's the fear. Now what do I do with that? If I go, okay, I want Jesus to come in and bring healing. I want that that redemption of this part of my story. How do I do that? What's my next step?
Well, this may sound silly, but I believe you should write it down.
Okay.
You should write it down and then burn it, tear it up, something.
Yeah.
Because that's a symbolic way
of
getting rid of it. It's sort of like baptism for us, right? You go down and you come up.
It's a new day.
Exactly. And so you're a new creature when you come out of the water, right? That's what we believe, that the old man died, new man came up. So
and the writing it down, you're acknowledging it. You're identifying it.
Exactly. This is how I felt because, and this is not a one-time deal.
Yeah.
Right? Something's going to come up and then, I don't know, 5 years later, something else may come up. You never know.
Yeah.
But as those things come up, write them down, acknowledge them. And I believe that we should repent of them, right? We say, okay, Jesus, I have been angry about this for so long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't even realize it because you just don't realize things too. So you have to give yourself grace because there's just things you don't realize. But then let it go. And then you have to choose to not think about it, right?
Yep.
It's going to pop into your head.
That's
so
right.
Papa Hagen used to say, you can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair.
Yeah.
Right? I love that.
Yep.
And it's because, no, I can't stop the birds, but I don't have
those thoughts are going to fly
here
by. Yes.
and allow them to nest in my hair. The thoughts are going to pop into your head from all over the place. Sometimes it's your thought, it's the enemy's thought, it's a random whatever, but you don't have to meditate on it.
Yes.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to incubate it. You don't have to roll it over and chop it up and look at it from different angles. It pops in. No, that's not a Jesus thought. And so I taught my children that when they were little. Like, yes, random things are going to pop into your head, but they would hear me walking around the house saying, oh, that is not a Jesus thought. And they're like, what are you doing? That is not a Jesus thought.
Well, you're doing exactly what the Bible teaches. Take every thought captive. Right? Make it obedient. Here you go. Thought.
And that is not a Jesus thought.
This is not a Jesus thought. You're not welcome.
This is the Jesus thought. He loves me. I'm the righteous. And this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And
replace that with truth.
Exactly. And it doesn't take memorizing the whole Bible.
Yeah.
Get one simple scripture. One. And chew that one over and over again. Because remember, that's how Jesus defeated the enemy. 3 scriptures. Three scriptures.
That's a great point. So Jesus facing, 40 days he's been fasting. One of the most understated lines in the Bible. He was hungry, it says.
Right, like, oh, he was hungry. Sure, you haven't eaten in 40 days.
And then
he was still human.
He's tempted, and you're absolutely right. And the temptations all, they had maybe a little hint of truth.
Exactly.
But it was partnered with a lie.
Exactly.
And then Jesus goes, I'm going to identify that's not a Jesus thought. I don't know if Jesus thought. That's not a Jesus thought. And he replaced it with the truth. And I love when you say to write it down, I love that act of writing it down, burning it, throwing it away, doing whatever. Because when those thoughts do come back, you can remind yourself, oh, I dealt with this.
I got rid of it.
We had a moment.
Yep. And now we're done.
Create a moment that it's a line in the sand moment. It's a new day moving forward. That is in the past, and by God's grace, I'm going to move forward, a different person, a new person. I'm not going to relive that. It's a new day.
Over and over.
Yeah, I'm not giving that power in my life anymore. Jesus has done the work to free me from the power of whatever that moment was.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing. There is this fascinating event in Luke chapter 5 that I absolutely love about the man. He's a paralytic man on a mat, right?
Yep.
But most people look at that from the story of the paralytic. But I look at it from the story of the friends.
Yeah. So if you're listening, you're like, what's this story? Jesus is preaching. He's in this house, and there's crowds that are just crammed in there. So nobody can get in through the door. And these friends have their buddy who's a paralytic, and so they go, I know, let's rip the roof off this place.
Right? Like these are some cool dudes, right?
And I've been to where they had replicas of what towns look like, and the roofs is, imagine a bunch of sticks and imagine like mud and grass and all that kind of stuff that creates this roof, and they start digging at it and open up a giant hole enough to lower this guy down.
Right.
Yeah.
But now think about the friends who first were like, okay, we're going to get you to Jesus. Now they came from all over, right? Judea, Galilee. Like these dudes are walking, carrying a grown man on a mat.
Yeah.
Then they get there and they have this obstacle because now there's a crowd. But these dudes didn't stop. I mean, these are some awesome friends.
Yes.
Right? And then somebody said, oh, wait, I know. We will hoist him up on the roof
Yes.
and lower him down to Jesus. And this, for me, replicates obstacles in our brains, in our minds.
Yep.
Right? But they had to see the end goal in their mind.
Yeah.
That's why Paul told us, don't faint in your mind, right? Like, think about that for a second.
Yes.
They carried him from who knows how far.
Yep.
And then when they got there was a crowd, and they're like, nope, we have come this far. You are getting in front of Jesus today, right?
Yeah.
Hoisted him up on a roof and then lowered him down because they always saw the end goal.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. When events happen in life, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
see the end goal.
And there will be barriers. There will be obstacles. There will be opposition.
Absolutely.
And it's worth it to work through that. It's worth it to see the end goal, to go, you know what? If it's not good yet, God's not done yet, and I'm gonna keep pursuing.
Exactly. And I'm gonna keep fighting those
That's
negative
right.
thoughts.
Right.
That's why I said, like, most people think of that story from the paralytic because he was healed. It tells us the power to heal was present, right? That's great. But I'm thinking about the friends.
Yeah.
Because the friends are really the ones dealing with the obstacles,
Yeah.
but they didn't let that stop them.
Yeah.
And that's oftentimes what happened to adults. We get stuck in the past. Oh, well, I tried that before, Robert. Robert, I tried that. Let's not try, let's do.
That's right.
Okay? So let's do a different thing. And so I often say I don't have problems, I have solution opportunities.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Because when you say you have a problem, your brain just like stops. It's like, oh, halt, problem, can't go any further.
Yep.
But if I say I have a solution opportunity, now my brain is thinking.
Live
it's
on the solution
processing.
side of every problem.
It's
And,
like,
yep.
okay, how do we get there?
What's
oh,
the
okay,
way?
I can't go down this street. Oh, wait, but I can take the back way. Oh, wait, I can flip.
dig a
I
hole
can
through the
reroute.
roof.
I will, rip
Yep.
open a roof.
That's
You know?
right.
So you have to be solution-oriented in your thinking. And a lot of that, again, goes to, nope, I dealt with that. I wrote it down. I'm not going back there. There is a solution.
Yeah.
And you'll get it.
This is so good. This is seriously, like, if you listen to the podcast today, you just saved yourself a lot of money in therapy. Yeah, this right here. Yeah, if you just go back and do the things that Dayna's talking about. Dayna, thank you so much for unpacking this with us. And,
Absolutely.
And so excited for, as you've been a part of our daily devotionals and just the investment you've made into Sun Valley and the church. So grateful for you and the gifts God's given you and you being willing to share that with us.
Absolutely. It's my honor and a privilege always to share the message of Jesus to change my life, and I know it'll change others. And that's what I love about here at Sun Valley. We're just real people with real stuff happening, but we choose to look at Jesus and go, okay, that happened.
Yep.
But there's a solution.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Would you bless us by praying for those that are listening,
Absolutely.
and we'll close the podcast with that.
Absolutely. Father, in the name of Jesus, thank you so much for everyone who chose to tune in today and who will listen to this over and over and over. May you pour your love on them in such a way that they know you have a great future for them and that nothing in the past can prevent the future that you have for them unless they allow it. So, sir, I'm asking that you help them with their minds. Help them to take those thoughts captive that do not align with the promises and blessings that you have. Thank you so much for blessing us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this word with Pastor Robert today. Sir, for everybody, I pray that you bless them and keep them. You make your face shine upon them and be gracious unto them. Lift up your countenance upon them and give them peace. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor and such fun to be here with you today.
This is great.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Loving God, Loving People podcast. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and click the bell so that you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this conversation, we'd love it if you would like this video, leave us a comment, and even share it with a friend. Doing that will help more people meet, know, and follow Jesus. And lastly, you are always welcome to join us each week for one of our services right here live on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.